Hello, everyone. This is John Garcia with Darcy Hall, and we want to welcome you to day one of the Groovekart Challenge. This is a new episode for today, and well, we just want to make sure that we have followed the rules for today. And unfortunately, today David or Donna Fox are not going to be able to be with us, but we just want to make sure that we try to do as much as the information that we have set up for today, and of course share it with you guys. And so, Darcy, how are you today? How's Vegas?
Sunny. It's always sunny in Vegas.
Sunny as always. Well, it's Vegas. Come on, of course it's
Except
sunny.
it wasn't sunny at 3 a.m. on Saturday morning when I got up live for the Groovethon. It was still.
Oh well,
the moon was still out.
the moon was still out, but it was actually a fun experience. We all had fun on the Groovathon, and more things are gonna come out of it. And it was such a great experience that the company wants to pretty much, do it regularly and have fun with it, because I think it was a great opportunity for all of us to share certain things, have guests, and talk about the company. And at some point, just talk about our journey, which I think is important in every kind of narrative, and especially with e-commerce. Uh, Dwight, hello. And well, since now we see that we have a bunch of you guys coming in to visit us tonight, so what we're going to do, I'm just going to ask, as always, I ask, let me have a number 7 for those who are the first time visiting us. And while we get the responses, I do have a big favor to ask you. Today is only Darcy and myself. So if you have a question, please add the letter Q in front of your question so it's easy identifying the comments, because I'll be reading the comments as well. So please let us know with the Q in front of your question so we can identify. And without any further ado, I don't have a lot of news for today, but let me just share my screen, because today is official. We are going to start the very third 60-day Groovekart Challenge with Mrs. Darcy Fox. I'm with Mrs. Darcy. Darcy Hall. I knew I was going to get confused because it's just too many D's and too many letters. So with Darcy Hall, and it's going to be an exciting journey for her. I know it, because with Christine, we have the same experience and she loved it. So Darcy, once again, welcome for our challenge today. And I wanted to just a couple of things. Remember, guys, we do this every 8 weeks, and it's going to be pretty much a lot of the same content, but we do it because we understand that a lot of more people are following us every month, every week. So we want to make sure that they get the same experience, and also they get a chance to be in the seat that right now Darcy is sitting, right in front of all of us and sharing her experience. So for today is going to be just a couple of the ground rules. What is the challenge? What we're going to be doing? And we're going to be talking about e-commerce. Now, I'm going to skip all the announcements because we did it last week. And today I want to just touch really now to the nitty-gritty of what we're going to be doing for the next 8 weeks. Thank you so much for all of you guys that are already saying your highs and your hellos. Hey, Dwight. Hello, Vida. So let's get to it, shall we? So let's take a look what we have in store today for you guys. And let me just move my presentation here. So we're going to do officially the challenge, the third challenge, or the as I like to call it, the GK3, or the Groovekart Challenge 3. And we're going to talk about e-commerce, because I know Darcy has also a good amount of experience in e-commerce. And so she's going to be talking with us about her experiences. And we're going to touch a little bit of what she's going to be doing on her store. So that's going to be kind of the preamble to everything that we're going to be talking today. Also, we're going to discuss what do I want to sell? And this is more to the individual level. What exactly do we want to take off from the challenge? What exactly do we want to do from the challenge? So, and I see a couple of familiar faces. Hey, Sandra. So that's awesome to have you here, guys. As always, it's great to have you guys following us every Thursday, because as Sandra just said, I learn something new every time we go with the 8 weeks, and I think that's important. So Darcy, you ready?
Yeah.
All right, but awesome. So before we start, Darcy, I know we've been talking a lot about you, but right now I'm going to just let you tell us about yourself. Tell us about something that what you want to take off from the challenge, and tell us about your experience.
Absolutely. Thanks, John. It's such a pleasure to be here. I'm ecstatic about Groove, digital Groove funnels, Groovekart, Groove pages, the whole Groove enchilada. And
The group enchilada, I like that.
hashtag Groove enchilada, right?
Yep.
And I've been involved in digital in some regards before digital, but I dove in to internet marketing 5 years ago when my life took a big change. A company I worked for had closed, and I was pursuing nonprofit development, but I was new to Vegas, didn't know people, and I was invited to an internet marketing conference thinking, oh, that'll be a great way to learn how to get more donors and more volunteers for a nonprofit. But they opened my eyes to the big wide world of internet marketing, which I like to describe as having there's million subcategories, but three main categories of affiliate, e-commerce, and local marketing. And I just was in a learning frenzy of all of it. And 5 years ago, Teespring and so forth, I had no idea what print on demand and all these opportunities. I didn't know what a JV was. I didn't know what reputation management or any of these broad ranges of ways SEO. I knew what SEO was, but didn't know how to do it or anything. But I dove in learning about all of them. I encourage all of you to don't go the route that I did. Figure out what you're passionate about, just focus in that area. But with e-commerce, I did dabble in a number of different ways of learning. Okay, so with e-com, there's Amazon. You can sell products on Amazon. You can sell on eBay. You can make your own products, or you can do print on demand. And Shopify was emerging, and so I dabbled a bit in a bunch of things, as well as with running a local agency, helping local businesses with their WooCommerce. If you're on WordPress, you can make a WooCommerce store. So dabbled in a number of regards and had my own ups and downs and learning curves, and excited about Groovekart to have another avenue that's, as a lifetime member, being able to not be paying hosting fees for the rest of my life and not paying $30 a month to Shopify for just the basic store or whatnot. So I'm real excited and built another store. I might be rambling. Feel free to jump in. I tend to ramble.
No, I mean, that's
I
what
have
you do.
so much information, but I just, my big goal for being involved with the Groovekart Challenge this time around is I'm trying to learn absolutely everything I can about Groove funnels and the whole, all of that's coming together, and being able to ask, as you already know from previous challenges, I'm logging in regularly every week to be able to ask my questions live. I have a lot of questions, and I want to help the community. I want to answer my own questions and build from start to finish, because there's so much that's changed, even in Groovekart, from even 2 months ago when I started a store. The Groove Digital Academy was based on an older version of it. So I was looking for tutorials, and there wasn't anything yet. You'd have to be coming on live to find out what the new updates were. And I want to help with now this, like, I know some call it Groovekart 2.0, but I'd call it even 3.0, to help a start to finish of how to do for current training, as well as before we even get started with it. I have just being able to express a lot of the questions I had, whether it's even just putting stuff up on eBay, some of the things they have to think about, or if you're creating an e-commerce store, there's just so many things that people might not even think about. Exactly. So I'd really like to, I'll let you guide me on when you want me to, but I have notes and notes of my random questions that I had over the last 5 years of a journey, as well as specifically 2 months ago when I started a store for a friend that has I'll put a little plug, keepvegasopen.com for face masks to help keep Vegas open.
And that's what it's all about. And you mentioned a couple of really important things when you throughout your journey and for the past 5 years. I think it's important: laser focus, pick your niche, and just do one thing. I mean, a lot of us that are in this kind of environment with everything digital, especially us that we have a platform that we have to support and we have to do a lot of stuff. There is a lot of things that we need to consider because we all have lives, we all have different things. Focus is important, especially in e-commerce. And as you will see in a second, with as I go in the presentation, you will understand why. And well, Darcy, it's going to be a pleasure to work with you. I know that. And for the past interactions, I know that David will soon. And by the way, guys, if you're coming in just now, I am not showing my live video because for some reason, every time I turn on my camera, I guess the internet cannot handle it. So, and I start failing or my sound breaks or something. So it will be just a voice today, but we do have Darcy right there. So we have a face at least that we can look at. And of course, be glad about it because every time I turn my camera, David will say something funny. So, which make this, a great experience for me, like all of us here at the company. But now that we know a little bit more about Darcy, let's talk about the challenge. What is the challenge about? So, the challenge is a fun experience. I want to make sure that every 8 weeks, a group of our community has fun working with us. And that's what it's all about. I know that Christine had a great time. The first time when we did it, we actually worked with one of our very own Donna Fox. She loved it because she learned more aspects of the company that she wasn't privy at the time. So that was an eye-opening to the powerful of Groovekart internally for her. And the stuff that we can do as we go along, as we grow as a company, as we grow as a product, we want to make sure that everybody is having a great experience and is functional. Ultimately, it's a business that you can rely on, financially at some point. So why should you do it? Because you can. Because you purchase something that is going to give you an ability to generate, a separate income stream. Like many of us, as I said, we have vast stores, and Darcy just mentioned a Teespring, which it is a great platform. I started 8 years with a store in Teespring when it was a great idea to do, and I met a lot of great people. I'm talking about the John Cornetas of the world. I'm talking about there's a gentleman, Jason Spiegel, I believe is his name. They actually made an impact in Teespring, and they made their livelihoods out of it. So it's a great opportunity for all of us. So why should we do it? Because you will learn everything that you need to know about our product, about Groovekart, about the new changes and the new challenges that we're going to have out there. And you get to participate with us when it comes to, working on the little issues that we might have, the little non-documented features that at some point we get. So that's why we do this. So we make sure that it's fun. And yes, there is prizes. Last week, we actually announced the winners for the challenge, for the store challenge. So because it's twofold. You get a challenge, you get the chance to actually participate actively in the challenge, like just Darcy is doing right now, or you get a cash prize if your store is selected by our jury, our panel of jury. So it is exciting, guys. So feel free to add any comments, questions. Remember, if you just coming in and joining us, just type the letter Q in front of it so we can actually read your questions. And Vida, I'm so glad that it's your first time with us. And Facebook user, I don't know your name, but welcome. And if it's your first time or if it's not, anyways, we're glad to have you here. Now, we talk about the challenge, so we know that it's going to be fun. And what is the end result that we want? We want to create for you guys a fun and fully functional store. So Darcy, by the end of this challenge, you will have a functional store. You will have a fully functional, ready to go store. The only thing is that you will definitely have to attend all the sessions, complete the assignments because we're going to leave some homework, learn and understand the concepts, the tips and the tricks and the ninja tricks that we usually kind of teach, and be willing to step out of your comfort zone. I think that's important, guys, because as we have said, and Darcy just touched a little bit on that, you need to be out of your comfort zone to learn something new, to work something new, to practice something new. And Darcy, let me ask you a question. How was your interaction when you were learning, let's say, about SEO? How did you feel back then? Would you feel more interested to pursue it or just Not really.
I'm sorry, I'm not quite sure your question. Or
You discover SEO, for example, because it was something new for you. Was it something that you were really passionate about, or that you wanted to learn it just to combine everything in one?
like with SEO, it's just, I know that it's such a powerhouse of helping people be found, and I love to learn. I'm a learnaholic. So I'm shifting into a doaholic, and that's part of putting myself out of my comfort zone, rather than just sitting back on these and watching from the background, throwing myself into the hot seat and forcing myself to take further action beyond what I would.
And that can require for you to step out of your comfort zone at some point. So that is precisely what I was trying to say, that we have to sometimes do a step out of our comfort zone. For example, in my case, when I joined the company, one Thursday, like just today, a year and a half ago, Mike Filsame called me and said, "Hey, John, do you mind taking over for the webinar tonight?" I mean, I haven't done a webinar in years. The last webinar that I did was for a company that I used to work for many, many years. I said, "Hey, you know what? Let's do it. I'm not very camera friendly, but let's do it. Let's rock this out." And I had fun, and I've been doing it ever since then. And I'm loving every single step of the process, which we hope that you actually do the same thing, because the most important part is have fun while you learn. And I think if we have fun while you learn, it no longer becomes a learning process, but a fun process. And of course, at the end, you're going to be rewarded for it, because it's something that you can, if it's something that you really dedicate and you're passionate about, your store will actually just give you some basis to do something later on, just financially and maybe personal goals. So, all right. So now this is the moment that a lot of people are waiting for, because maybe there's the first time here, like Alejandro Acevedo, like Vita, and so many others, that, hey, what is e-commerce? I'm completely new here, so I'm gonna just now poke your brain a little bit now, Darcy. To you, what is e-commerce?
It's selling products of any nature over the internet. Forget where the E of e-commerce or email. Electronic. There we go. Hello. Electronic. It's electronic commerce. So rather than stepping into a brick and mortar store, you actually have the ability to conduct transactions over electronics, over the internet.
And that is exactly what it is. It's a simplified concept, especially now during these times that everything happens with an E up front. E-commerce, email, everything. So it is what it is. It's buying and selling things online. That is simplified as well. And Groovekart offers that opportunity for you to own your own piece of that big pie that is called the internet, and have possession of something that you can offer your products, your services, or even products from somebody else, which we'll touch base in just a moment. Now, there's a couple of things that Groovekart as a software does not allow, because of course there are things that are not allowed in the platform. And what I love to do always is make sure that we clear that out from day one, because if we're clear, then we know that in day 6, when we're in certain steps of the process, then, oh, but I wanted to sell firearms, or I wanted to sell something. So no, we don't want to do that. So what is not allowed for sale in Groovekart? No firearms, no adult items or images or any kind, no tobacco, no vape, not illegal narcotics, no counterfeit products. So with that out of the way, because we need to make sure that we have that. And do you want to say something, Darcy?
Quick question on the no adult items. Would that include wine, like beer, wine?
Yes, that's actually beverages. So those are part of the of certain things that we cannot.
Anything that has an age limitation,
exactly.
18 and up or 21 and up, depending on, so that would be a limitation.
Correct. And because in each state the laws changes, so we I don't know, I'm talking probably here in the future, but we'll definitely take a look at other possibilities and options and products. But at the moment, there's nothing set in stone when it comes to those products. But we'll definitely be looking to expand the services, because there's areas in the adult industry, quote unquote, that we can probably participate. So that's what's not for sale. But what you can be used for: print-on-demand products, drop shipping, your own products, and digital products. So if you are a teacher that want to sell your own papers online and or your own manuscripts, your own poems, you can actually just put the files and sell them. Print on demand, which we'll explain the concept in a second, that you're going to help me, Darcy, because I know that you're been dabbling in that spectrum as well. Drop shipping is one of the most common ones, and we will discuss the pros and cons. So that's pretty much it. And you have another question, and you don't have to raise your hand. You can just interrupt me at any time. Let's make this fun.
I'm just used to it. Lots of years, and I don't want to interrupt your flow. You're not seeing you live at the same time. But I'm sure there's some people that may have some questions there as well regarding CBD. It is, you do have supplements capability on Groovekart, and where there's the line drawn in terms of CBD being being able to be sold on through Groovekart.
Right now, CBD, it can be sold on our cart. That's one of the few exceptions, as well as what do you call it? I just forgot the word that you just mentioned.
Is it as long as it's THC free, meaning
correct?
No high.
Exactly. CBD. Yeah, it's gotta be CBD. It's gotta be 3% or less on the THC content, but also the supplements. Now, here's the caveat to that. In order for you to be able to accept payments with CBD, you might need to have a very specific merchant processor. I know that the big three, PayPal, Stripe, and Square, I know they had some limitations depending on the state, and in some states you cannot even process through them. We do have a solution, we had a solution a few months ago, but due to the certain changes on the actual industry, in the CBD industry, unfortunately, we said that we can hold the actual products, but the processing is the tricky part. But we're seeking solutions for them, especially on the CBD, because right now, due to what happened to COVID and everything else, there was a situation where a lot of people were saying that CBD, it will cure, it will help, it will do this to COVID. So unfortunately, there's people out there that still do that in this day and age. And that affected a whole industry because a lot of people were buying the product. But then when the banks start seeing all the chargebacks, they kind of start putting, more tightened regulations on how to proceed with acceptance with new merchants. So that's the only caveat right there with CBD. The same thing with supplements. You need to have a very specific account, which we can provide more information if you visit groovepay.com. That will be the first step in seeking a solution for that. I will put the comment right now here for those that might be interested on discover more about our payment system. So you can go to groovepay.com, which is right there in the comments. Hello, Dijami, Chubby. Hey, guys. So now that we know what we can sell and we actually respond to our first question, let's move along.
One more question before you move on is for those that would have a question, whether something maybe if they're not sure if it's borderline and whether it be approved or not, who's quote unquote policing that, and what is the process of finding out, or if somebody puts something up, who deems, and is there a notification process, or is a store just shut down abruptly? What is the process?
Right now, as far as that information, the best way to do is reach us at support, which is support.groovedigital.com, or send us an email to support@groovedigital.com, because we can actually then send the request to the right department. And depending on what product is it and certain things, so we can actually make sure that you get the right answer. And if you don't mind, let me just read a question here. The Jam Enterprise says, can Teespring, Redbubble, Amazon merch, and can be integrated as POD on your Groovekart? If so, how? Actually, the three that you mentioned, unfortunately, cannot at the moment. but there are plans to do integration with Amazon and some others. But you can have actually integrations with Layer App, with Printful, with Slingly, with Tscape, that actually deal with either drop shipping or print on demand. And so we're going to have more of those as we go along. But certainly we will take those into consideration. So thank you so much to Jemmy for bringing that up. Now, any more questions so we can move to the next slide, guys, and we keep learning about e-commerce?
And we're seeing some people with Facebook user. If you go to streamyard.com/Facebook, you can log in to register yourself, and it'll show us your name and your picture so that we can address you more directly. I see a question from Facebook user, how long is the training? It's every Thursday from 3 to 4:30 Pacific time. You can translate that to whatever time zone you're in. And the Groovekart Challenge, we're on day 1 of an 8-week series, and we're in the 3rd series of this Groovekart Challenge. So
awesome.
we welcome you right at the start.
Wow. I can tell that you're being a Groovester from the get-go. I mean, I couldn't have said it better. So thank you so much, Darcy. Appreciate that.
And another, perhaps the same or a different Facebook user asked, is there a processing fee with Groovekart?
Actually, that depends because we do have right now options that you can actually have Stripe, you can have PayPal, and you can, of course, have our own system, which is GroovePay, with different other options. But that will depend on your needs and also what your goals are. If you want to keep it, on a budget, you can select one of those. Probably PayPal will be a great to start. Maybe Stripe, depending also on the product and depending on so many variants that we're going to be learning along within the next 8 weeks. But yeah, depends on what exactly you want to do with your card. There might be a fee. So now let's just move along and let's just talk a little bit about the consumer side of the store, because each story has 2 sides. Once we are consumers, but we are also owners. And right now, probably some of us that right now, tonight here, we are thinking to become store owners because it's going to bring certain value to maybe to our personal growth, because a lot of people say, I have a store and I'm planning to make it really big. That's how everything starts. But also we are consumers. So to learn and to understand e-commerce, we always have to understand the consumer side first as consumers, but also as the store owners. So because it's a lot of work involved. And I always touch in the first day, and I know that Darcy, you probably experienced this as well when you started. There's a lot of learning going on. There's a lot of stuff that you need to learn. There's a lot of things that you need to understand. So, and I will be asking you a couple of questions because, again, you started with Teespring, and I know that you need to do a lot of learning with Teespring when you try to play with the platform, when you try to actually create the products, design them. So tell me about that process for you as a store owner. So let me hear about your side of the story when you started with the e-commerce process with Teespring.
I actually didn't do the Teespring side of it. I did realize that I was learning, like I said, all of everything. I was learning affiliate, local, and e-com, and I gravitated based on other experience to the local route as my primary for internet marketing. But I was watching the success of others, and I saw that to do well in the print on demand, it's not just the Field of Dreams movie, build it and they will come. If you create a store, if you put something on Amazon, there's natural traffic. Or if it's on eBay, there's natural traffic. But if you create a store on Shopify, or if you create a store on Groovekart, just by creating it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be successful. You're going to have to drive traffic to it, and you're going to have to understand that who are you trying to reach? And John Cornetta talked on this really well on Saturday during the Groovathon. Don't just create a product and put it out there. Know who your client or your customer is and what they want to put that out there. So with Teespring, And for those that don't know what Teespring is, it was one of the early print on demand for creating t-shirts, and you could target, and it used to be easier with Facebook because you could do more demographic, more specific, and the Facebook has changed a lot of the regulations about that. So I did not personally do print on demand yet. I actually did actual physical products that I put on to eBay, and I had a Shopify store that I drove traffic through Pinterest, in fact.
Nice.
There was a hair salon that closed, and I purchased they had a going out of business sale, and I bought all of their stuff at a great bargain, and I'm able to make a good return on investment, ROI. So I actually have in inventory myself and physically ship the products. But I do look forward to playing now with Groovekart, I do look forward to playing in the demand field in the future. But I did know enough that you can get yourself into a hole if you think, oh, I'm just going to go out there and do it without having a strategy behind it.
Yes. And that is pretty much the journey of every owner. I mean, we all go through the same things. We all go through the phases like, yeah, okay, I think this design is the coolest design ever and people will buy it. No. I learned that the hard way because like many of us, and John Cornetta, again, he is one of my mentors. He is one of the person that I always follow for the past maybe 5-6 years because he knows what the trends were. He knew how to do certain moves and actually just how make something out of an idea. So, and as I wanted to mention here, kind of the segue is, it's a big pie, guys. I mean, out there is a lot of money to be made. And if anything, the motivation that a lot of people might have is like, right now with everything that is happening in the world, a lot of people are just losing jobs, unfortunately, and they're looking for supplement that somehow. And there is a market for a lot of people depending on your niche. So that's when we start the focusing. You need to be laser focused in one thing and be good at it. Practice it, practice makes perfection. Or, well, not perfection, but it makes a master out of you, that you understand the processes and you understand pretty much everything to run your own e-commerce store. Because last year, retail stores of physical goods amounted to $365 billion. And now, by 2024, it's going to be $600 billion. So the industry is going to keep growing. And the trend is going upwards. And it's going to be probably more money. These numbers were from 2019. So definitely those numbers are going to grow. So now, and this is probably why you, Darcy, and many of us, we decided to go with e-commerce. Why is e-commerce so attractive? It is because, one, is a low entry point, especially with Groovekart and GrooveFunnels. You can do it either part-time or full-time, and it's easy to implement, it's cost-effective, and you don't have inventory for drop shipping and print on demand. So you mentioned something just now, Darcy, that you started with selling. You bought a business that it was going out of business, and you took all that equipment. And I don't know yet, because guys, for this is the first time we're doing this live, so this is not recording, unless of course you're looking at the recording later. So Darcy, how did you do it? Did you do it in eBay? Did you do it in any other platform? How was that experience?
I looked at what options I had, and my first thought was Amazon, because there's, as I mentioned, there's obviously traffic there already, and there's a lot of conveniences, but there's also limitations with Amazon that you have to be what they call ungated. There's certain categories like health and beauty it's extremely competitive, and it's heavily regulated. They don't just let anybody and everybody sell products in certain categories. Some things may be easier, but in the fact that I had the shampoos and conditioners and so forth, it's heavily regulated, I wasn't able to sell on Amazon. I did sell on eBay, which has more flexibility, and just by putting up the pictures and the product descriptions, and I naturally, organically received sales because I had very famous products like Aveda. A lot of people know it's a very famous hair brand, so people are searching that anyway. Some of the lesser known brands took longer to sell. I did create a Shopify store as well I actually had a combination of hair care, home decor, fashion, and other products, and I called it Style Hanger. And I did have a Shopify store for a while, but I just didn't, there's that monthly expense, and then there's, having to find ways of driving traffic to it, because it doesn't just build it and they will come.
Exactly.
You have to have a way of marketing too, and those are additional expenses that people should think about. It doesn't necessarily have to be a monetary expense, but time is money, and you have to figure out, how are you going to get people to come across this?
Right.
And that's where a lot of people lose money on e-commerce. They love the idea of it, and it's exciting. Why is e-commerce so attractive? Oh my gosh. Like I said, I linked my Shopify store with Pinterest, and somebody was searching for this Christmas Christmas item that I had, and I got a sale in the middle of the night. I woke up to money in my PayPal.
Oh, yeah,
It's so exciting.
Yeah,
I'm out at the
feeling.
movies. I'm out at the movies with somebody, and I turn my phone back on, and I've made a sale on eBay. So it's great that you can put the work in when you have time, and then if you've put the work in effectively, then the money is coming at other times. It's not necessarily that you're clocking in, clocking out, and that you're trading dollars for time
For your time.
dollars. Mm-hmm.
No, exactly. And it's a great feeling. I mean, I remember when I made my very first sign online, I used to deal with everything and everything. I mean, I don't know if you guys, and I think I told this story before in the challenge. I don't know if you remember the StarTAC cell phones from Motorola, the flip phones, the StarTAC. There was a point in my life when that was the coolest phone ever. I would think it was probably the middle of the 90s, perhaps, beginning of the 90s and 80s. So if somebody from the audience can actually help me, because I don't remember exactly the year, but there was one accessory that everybody wanted to have, and that phone specifically had a little antenna that if you plug it, it will actually lit up, but you have to buy it somewhere. So I actually found a manufacturer in China. I bought pretty much my savings back then, and I just started to sell it in the small forums for electronics. At that point, e-commerce was very limited to a couple of places like eBay. I sold a lot on eBay. Then I created a small shopping cart, but it was just via email. Oh, email me your number, your name. I'll send you an account number. You deposit the money and you just pay me. And then, of course, now it started with the Yahoo stores. I don't know if you guys remember Yahoo stores. And Yahoo actually had, at some point early in their journey, they had the stores that you can actually do. And of course, then I started learning myself, and I am a programmer by trade. So I actually started just dabbling into Joomla stores. I mean, Joomla was one of the early programs that you could use for that, and just to create that content management. And then we kind of just made a small store out of it, and then it grew to learning micromedia products back then, Dreamweaver, and then called Fusion, to program our own store. So it's been a great journey. And now, especially, we have the ease of have everything in one pack with Groovekart. You don't have to worry about learning a lot of stuff. The only thing that you have to learn about is learning how to drive the traffic, how to be specific, which we'll touch base on that. But definitely, e-commerce is very attractive for a lot of us. And what do we drive? What is it so attractive? Because you can start it with what you like, with your hobby, with your passion. So what makes you happy? Is painting make you happy? Okay, start painting. But it will only take you so much of happiness. But it will be happiness when you put it online and somebody says, hey, Darcy, that painting is great. Are you selling those? So that is pretty much the experience that we have with Donna. I mean, Donna, she's a great painter. I believe she's a great painter. She actually has her own craft and she does very cool stuff. So she said, let me try this whole challenge idea that you have, and let me see if we can do it. So do what makes you happy. Do it for somebody else. I mean, we have a couple of customers that they have ideas and they partnered up with people and they bring businesses together. And most importantly, does your hobby or your passion offers a solution? If it does, if it offers a solution for somebody out there, it's already half the battle, because then you have a product that people were looking for. And as we've been talking about, and Darcy touched on that earlier, finding the opportunities, but you have to be laser focused. You find your niche, your product opportunities, because there's new products coming out every day. And then decide, do you want physical product or digital products? There has both of those areas have their pros and their cons, and their advantages and disadvantages, but everything is actually great experience to learn. Now, Darcy, if you don't mind, let's read a couple of questions, because I think we have a couple from a Facebook user. He asked, John, I joined when you were talking about CBD. For those that had the CBD supplement store, can we sell our own brand in your GK store? Yes, Facebook user, you can actually send your own store. Just remember, it has to be less than 3% THC. And the only situation is you have to have your own merchant account, so you can accept the payments. You can use the platform, but that is the only situation that we're facing with CBD specifically. And I believe that was it, right? Or Rain, do we have another question? No, we did address that. So
there was a question from SV Rain. Is it possible to publish Groovekart products to other channels like eBay, Amazon? Charlie.
At the moment, it's not, but it's coming. That is, I know there's an API in development, and I know that is also going to be part of the Groove funnels. So that's going to be a very fun experience for all of us to actually, once we have it released, once it's out there, to start using it, because that's what we're looking for, more venues to bring that traffic, which is so important in all of our stores. So let's just move forward.
I'd like to make a comment. You might have this later in the slides, but the one thing that I really was excited or really found interesting in learning about the people that were doing well in Teespring and other products, Robert Malvo was an early one, and some others, that and people think niche, and then niche down more, and then niche down more, and even more. So there's animal lovers, there's dog lovers, there's Labrador retriever lovers, and it may even be down to the golden Labrador retrievers, or maybe even be a Labradoodle. And the more specific you can get into it, there are these micro niches. And if you are knowledgeable and passionate about that, go for that, because you'll have knowledge. My ex-boyfriend was dabbling with the Shopify at the same time as me. He did some of his own stuff in there, and he was seeing what other people were really successful in, but he didn't know that demographic. And so trying to do Facebook ads to somebody that you don't really know the language and the, how to, just like even in local marketing, if you're, a retail shop has a customer, a doctor has a patient, a lawyer has a client, or it's different. Just like in local marketing, there's different industries have a different name for the client or customer or patient. The same thing in your, whatever you're in, if you're knowledgeable and passionate, you'll be able to speak to speak to your tribe. Don't think of them as a customer, think of them as your tribe, your community, and you'll do far better.
Oh yeah.
So, find what and also, find what makes you happy. That is like, wow, I'm sharing, because you'll learn from your customers or clients, however you want to call it here. You'll learn from them. They'll become your peers in some regard. You'll learn how to do better, how to improve your product by listening and growing with them. So
right. And you know what? I think you just touched on a lot of very important points. For example, your journey as an e-commerce owner, you can take so much advantage of that process, because that will be not only part of your narrative, but you can document that and make it micro moments that you can share in Instagram. Maybe, my first sale, just take a picture, take a screenshot of that order, take a screenshot of the product that you sold, and make it memorable for your tribe. Right now, there's a lot of terminology that I didn't use maybe 15 years ago. Tribe, digital community. networking. But through the years, I learned that what you said is completely right. You have to experience everything, share it with your tribe, share it with your community, because that is going to be the way that you get your name out there, and that tribe is going to keep expanding. I mean, just look at our community. Our community 6 months ago was maybe 35,000 people, and today, actually a few weeks ago, we reached 100,000 members. With in using Facebook, but as clients or customers, we have over right now 250,000. So it is actually growing so much and so immensely that we needed to have in place those micro moments that we're experiencing and put them out there, because that's what people like to see, and that's what drives the traffic. Sometimes organically, sometimes you have to pay for ads, but you will learn all that along the way. And So just take the step. Let's just make sure that you're happy with what you're doing and you enjoy it, because it's never work when you're enjoying what you do. And to me, this is not work. I mean, I love everything about Groove. I sometimes don't sleep thinking about Groove, because part of my journey with the company is make sure that all of you guys out there are happy. And speaking of happy, we have a question from Asa Therapeutics. Asa, yes, I've been looking really close to your case, and we are going to get a resolution soon. Most likely, you and I will have to get together in a Zoom, most likely tomorrow. So, because we didn't notice anything really directly with the store, but just so we can not acknowledge, because the most important part is that you're acknowledging that you're being actually worked on, and your issue is going to be resolved. Now, can the Groovekart be on Instagram? Of course, you can actually just have your own store, because you can connect your own domain to an Instagram account, and you can just connect just as I was just mentioning now, add those micro moments, add those pictures, add those videos to your experience, to your narrative, to your story. Because if you tell your story, people will follow you. Look at all the great influencers in the world. Look at Guy Vaynerchuk. Look at Simon Sinek. Look at Malcolm Gladwell. These gentlemen, they actually have created monsters of communities. Especially Gary Vaynerchuk is one of my, I will consider my mentor. Even I met him once for 3.5 minutes, and I kind of blew my shot, because when I tried to take my picture, my phone was actually out of battery. And the lady that took the picture, she never sent me the picture, because I guess I gave her the wrong number. I was so happy. But it's one of those things. But I have read all his books, and he's one of my favorite authors on this journey that we call e-commerce and the digital life. Do we have any other questions, Darcy, by the way? Yeah, we have one question from Rosemary Russo. How do you prevent others from copying your designs if printing on demand, for example? That is a good question, Rosemary. And I haven't have any professional / guru / e-commerce owner that will come up with a solution. There are products out there that you can actually get to protect your designs, and of course all the regular tools like trademarks and register brands and all that stuff. But it is hard to control that in an e-commerce kind of setting, because there's always going to be knockoff, especially, and Darcy, probably you remember this, and if you saw the progression of Teespring, you know that in Teespring there was a lot of people copying a lot of stuff, and internally they developed tools like, okay, if this design was generating X amount of sales, let's take a look if somebody with the same or similar design is doing the same thing. So they start penalizing people and saying, hey, no, you cannot use this. And I know out there's going to be tools, but at the moment it's really hard for us as the platform to control that. But the best way is just make them unique, and people will recognize you. And even your own users will start calling out the fakes, just like they did in Teespring. Teespring, they had a lot of cases like that. We know that it's hard to control that, but there's definitely tools that are going to be developed soon, I hope, and so we can actually just control that a little bit. Let's see.
Going back up a little, it's similar to what somebody else already asked, but wondering if Groovekart can integrate with the new Facebook and Instagram shop. So I think you touched on the question above, that can Groovekart be on Instagram, and that, you mentioned the sharing the moments, but asking, can it integrate?
Yes, we actually do have the Facebook feed within Groovekart. So if you have your product and you want to connect your product feed into Facebook? Yes, you can. You can do that absolutely. You have also the opportunity to have your products in the Google Merchant Center, which is just you just send a submitted link with all your products, and you can actually just create the ads for those products and drive traffic, via ads with Google. So there is the possibility as well.
They may be possibly asking if there's an actual API that can help manage the inventory, because there is the Facebook Marketplace. So that may be what they're asking.
Yeah. At the moment, the API, as I mentioned, is still in development as just as part of the process. But once it's available, I know that a lot of us that have the stores will definitely use it. Now, let me see this. I have a Namecheap site, Hello Hats, and Hello Hats with Groovekart. The question is, once completed, will Groovekart names show simply as hellohats.com? Absolutely. Once you have your store ready, you just connect that domain and everything will be under hellohats.com. And your products will be hellohats.com/hats or halos. So Halo Hats, I'm sorry, I mispronounced it at the beginning. So Halo Hats, yes, will have your own domain and you can use your own branding.
I'm not an official Groove employee, so if I'm allowed to make a plug, that I encourage Namecheap over GoDaddy personally, just based on my own experiences in setting up the domain DNS settings.
No problem. And you know what, Rosemary? Don't worry. And you can ask as many questions as you can, because we're here to learn anyways. And she asks, can you explain the difference between Groovekart and GrooveSell? I'm still confused about what GrooveSell is. Thank you. So I'm gonna give my answer, but I know Darcy, she wants to actually talk about it because she's been following David for the longest, David's account. And I know that I would like to have the perspective of Darcy in this one, because GrooveSell is just another e-commerce tool for your courses, your digital products, nothing that is tangible. Although you can sell products, GrooveSell is more to connect your funnels of the courses that you're offering, the documents that you're selling, the digital products that you're selling into that setting, into the whole e-commerce setting. So that's the biggest difference. Groovekart is more into the tangible items, into the physical products, into the toys, plants, pots, shower curtains, whatever you want to sell, you can sell it there. And it's easier because it has a shopping cart. You have the shopping experience. With GrooveSell, it's just a landing page that is composed by your funnel and then your checkout page, as I call it, because that's where people go and do the payment for your course or your product. Now, Darcy, let me hear your version. Let me see if we're on the same page.
I would throw in an extra one here that there's Groovekart, Groove Pages, and GrooveSell. So Groove Pages is like WordPress and being able to create a single page, or ClickFunnels where you can create a single page, or what's really nice is that you can, with Groove Pages, you can have a whole collection of pages that make out a whole website, but it doesn't have it's not the selling portion of it. In the GrooveSell, you can utilize with Groove Pages for that it's great for digital assets. And actually a couple weeks ago, David Lemon has the trainings in the mornings from Monday through Friday, and there's on Wednesdays he allows people to post their sites and he critiques them. And there was somebody that actually built an e-commerce store with t-shirts and mugs, I think, that they built in Groove Pages, and it is possible. And what's an advantage with Groovekart is the capability. That's better for when you actually have a physical item that you're shipping, because it's not just a digital delivery. There's the actual shipment where you're collecting a physical address and the tracking of has it been physically shipped, and just more variables. And if you have a large number of items, Groovekart makes it easier if you're updating multiple prices, as well as being able to offer discount codes. So a lot more complexity and more for the physical item, where there's a tangible item that somebody's going to physically receive whether it's by UPS or FedEx or whatever shipment method you're using. But if you could get away with just using Groove Pages and Groove Sell, but it's streamlined a lot easier in Groovekart.
Awesome. Great. I mean, that's a great explanation, guys. I believe that Darcy's got it down. I mean, it's amazing how by passion you're learning a lot of stuff, and we love to see that. I mean, Darcy's being, as I said, David, he said, just take care of Darcy. I know I'm not going to be there tonight, but she's been amazing. And that's why once you show passion and we as a company notice that, we want to sit you down with us and experience it, because that's what we want. We want our members and our customers to experience that firsthand, because not a lot of them have the experience. For example, Christine Case, which was our very first, student, or showcase, as I call them. It's for her, it was a great experience because she opened up to a new stuff that she maybe didn't have a lot of experience with. So, and as Darcy will do with us for the next 8 weeks. So let's just respond the last question from this section right now, and we're going to continue with the presentation. But this question is actually very important. And James Stein asks, is there a roadmap for development so we can see the estimated dates of critical features like adding API, Amazon integration, etc.? For Groovekart, not specifically. However, as a company, we do have an infographic that is being updated every time we actually just have any development. So I'm just posting the link right now on the chat. So feel free to go there and take a look at the progression of all the products in Groove. So you can actually just take a look at there. Now we have defined what is e-commerce, how to do it, what to do it, when do I want to sell. So now let's just really quickly move along, and let's start with the 3 things that I believe are the 3 pillars of any kind of selling process, which is, again, a laser focused idea, 2, have the right resources, and 3, have the skills needed or hiring the right people. Why these 3 are important? Because once you have a laser focused idea, that will allow you to develop a solution or a product. Then you need the resources. If it's a design product, let's say a t-shirt that you want to sell, that you have the idea, but you don't know how to design the product, then you can hire a designer. Or then you can find or talk to somebody that might know graphic design and just get it done and produce it. In this case, do I need a designer, or where do I seek the designer? How am I going to progress from the idea to the actual product? And then the skills needed. If, again, touching the same example, if you're planning to design t-shirts, for example, you want to, of course, hire a graphic designer that can convey your idea into the world. So, and of course, I always recommend have an authority figure or a mentor, because that is basic, because you want to copy somebody. You want to, of course, leave the little mark on the world, or maybe a big mark. But if you replicate what all the mentors and all the people that have done it in the past, is going to make your journey a little bit easier. For example, I copy a lot of the ideas from Joe Conetta, Mike, and many others. Tom Beal is one of my also great leaders that we have in the company, great friend of the company. And he is one of the greatest minds, I believe, when it comes to a lot of things digital. And he does actually a webinar on Tuesday nights also with David, which is focused on GrooveSell and GrooveFunnels. So don't miss it. All right, so let's keep moving along, because we still have a couple of things. Now that we have the idea, we know the process, we know what it is, what are the big differences? Because we just noticed a couple of questions about what is print on demand. So what is it? Print on demand, for a lot of us that don't know what it is just the process where you design something and you have another company send it for you. Print it and send it for you. It's one of the concept that is making a lot of people a lot of money, because they have tried and error and they're doing it. They just have a t-shirt, apparel, mugs, whatever you can think of that can be printed, there is a possibility. But there's just a couple of things that you need. You'll need a little bit of creativity, or somebody with those skills, which we kind of determined in the previous slide, and willingness to learn about new trends. That is important. You gotta keep up with the pop culture. You gotta keep up with what's going on, because there's the opportunity. Just imagine all the people that are designing stuff surrounding social distancing. And that was a clear concept 2 months ago, that a lot of people are selling print-on-demand t-shirts about social distancing, about, unfortunately I have to use the term virus, about quarantine. I mean, new words came about, the quarantini, or the only quarantini that I can think of was the one that I read somewhere, and that's the only thing that pops in my head right now. But new stuff comes away every time with a situation like this. So there's the opportunity, and you have to have the willingness to learn something new so you can progress. Who can do print on demand? Anybody. But it will be easier if you're artistically inclined, like if you paint, if you do drawing, if you do graphic designing, but also photographers. People that want to use, hey, you know what? I want to sell a frame, a canvas frame of my photography. As a matter of fact, we have somebody in our audience that I've been actually working with closely, and he's about to release his store. And I'm gonna plug your store at the end, Francis, because folks, if you're looking for cool pictures, go to acewallart.com. I'm gonna put the link later. So once it's ready, you guys can visit it, because it is amazing photography. I have seen the photography, I have seen the products. It is a gentleman that actually just partnered up with Francis, and he is doing exactly what we're saying. He's doing that. Hey, if I have the idea, if I have the card, I'm going to talk to somebody that knows how to take photographs and take advantage of that, because it's a possibility. So moving along. Oh, give me just 1 second, because I think my computer just went crazy. Oh, yep, it did. It went crazy because I did touch a button here. Give me just 1 second. Okay, now let's talk about drop shipping, shall we? Drop shipping is fun, but it has a couple of things that we need to consider. Now, Darcy, got a question for you. In print on demand, because I'm going to make you participate every day. And next week, guys, by the way, Darcy is going to show us how she's going to set up the store. And before the end of today, she's going to talk about the idea that she has for the store. So we have a little preamble of what we're going to be seeing for the next 7 weeks. So drop shipping. Do you know what drop shipping is?
Without reading the description right there. So Alibaba is a very well-known opportunity for drop shipping, where you can source, there's products that are already made, that then there's a fulfillment that you can just order and they ship direct, rather than you purchasing all of the product and holding physical inventory and being responsible for the shipping. It's literally, it's much more direct from the manufacturer to the end user. There's more than one type of drop shipping, but that's a primary example.
Perfect. And that's what it is. It's pretty much, you find a product that you might want to sell in your store, and you said, you know what, I like this product, put it up there. You put it, of course, with a pricing for a profit, because that's what a lot of people need to understand about drop shipping. It's like, oh, I'm going to put a product and it's going to sell. And coming back to what you just mentioned, I'll build it and they will come. Not really, because there's a lot of people doing that. Is there opportunity in drop shipping still? Absolutely, because every day there's new products coming and new solutions for problems that we're looking solutions for. So let's say I need to have a little device that I put in the middle of my table in my patio to repel the mosquitoes. If you go to AliExpress, which is one of our partners, so you say, hey, let's just look mosquito killer for patio, or mosquito repellent lamp, and you'll find so many devices. And then you pick 1 or 2 or 3 products, maybe 1, because 1 is good enough to start. You pick that 1 product and then start thinking, who is my target audience? Who is my buyer? But then that's a process that we will talk about it later. But so far, you already made the big decision. The product. 1 single product, start with drop shipping, set a price, make some money, and then you just grow from there. The biggest issue that I have seen with drop shipping is that a lot of people start with a ton of products that might not be attractive to what they want to intend to sell to their community, to their tribes. They're not really paying attention to what the tribe is saying. So drop shipping, if you go with drop shipping, if you have a community or if you're creating a community, just go as Darcy just mentioned earlier. If let's say you love gadgets, or let's say pencils. I mean, I collect fountain pens, so I always looking for good deals, and I also like to increase my collection, so I go online. So if you like to do something similar, do it. Look for the resources. There's ton of products out there. I believe that AliExpress offers. I maybe I'm exaggerating. I don't have the exact number, but I think it's close to 2 million different products. So it's an amazing source there to have. Now, what do you need for drop shipping? The niche, a product, and a willingness to learn. What do you need to learn? Traffic. How do you bring traffic to your store? Because you're not going to have inventory, which is one of the great pros in drop shipping, that you don't need to touch one single thing. I mean, when I did my antennas, I ordered 35,000 antennas, and yeah, it was just a small boxes because it's a small item, but I cannot imagine somebody ordered lamps or furniture. Then that's a problem. But if you see the opportunity out of your comfort zone, play with it, analyze it, make sure that it doesn't put at risk certain things, and just go for it. But in drop shipping, you don't have to think about inventory. You don't have to have a very large capital investment, because all that you need is put the item and bring the people in. Just provide the traffic. Create a small page in Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, all of the different platforms right now out there. TikTok, and I mean, I am one of the more fervent advocates for TikTok right now, because even though it's for a young generation and the generation that likes to dance and likes to do really dumb stuff, is becoming a platform to be able to sell. So experience that. Again, coming back to get out of your comfort zone. Of course, there's always cons for everything. One of the biggest is there's a lot of competition. So a lot of people doing it. But then again, if you have a unique product, then you can actually just stand out of the crowd. And you have limited control, because you're dependent on the timing, the production of the product, the delivery, the shipping. So there's a lot of things that you cannot control. And this is one of the biggest one, the higher shipping times. Especially now, right after we moving from the whole COVID situation in a lot of the larger cities for manufacturers, they saw a lot of increase on the delayed products that they couldn't manufacture, because of course there was no people working. Now, thankfully, we're moving away from that, and hopefully we're gonna get back to a somehow normal situation with production and fabrication of things. But then still we still have, as a society, we still have a long road still to go to make sure that everything is become back to normal. But now, Darcy, I want to hear your point of view in drop shipping.
Yeah, I'd like to give a shout out to Rosemary Russo. Made a great point that as exciting as is a little more risky with AliExpress is that there's no one to overlook the quality, so you may get disappointed customers. So it's whatever, if you do drop shipping, I encourage getting samples first so that you're aware of it, because even if you're doing clothing, a size small in America maybe, or the United States, maybe a different size small in China or somewhere else. So the actual sizing and getting very specific, and what does it look like? And there's the picture. The pictures, does it look exactly? Is the color exactly right of what you're looking for, or was the stock photo just a prototype? What is the end product?
Right.
So Rosemary, good point out for adding into the cons list. But the drop shipping, yeah, it's to not have to have the maintaining the inventory, for that taking up space, and then would like to really emphasize anybody that is doing a drop shipping approach is to be very clear in what the expected shipping time is.
Yes.
Because people get so used to, oh, I ordered it, it's, Amazon Prime, I'm going to have it the next day. Well, if it's coming from China, it's going to be a couple weeks, a couple months, or maybe longer, because of even the Chinese New Year in approximately January, February, where the entire, there's about a month that that whole region shuts down. So there's different considerations. There's definitely pros and cons of everything. Drop shipping is a great way to get started, because print on demand and drop shipping, because again, you're not having a large investment up front, as opposed to private label rights of or licensing and so forth, or where you're making a much bigger investment, but you're making a better ROI when you've made that bigger purchase.
Correct.
But if you're just getting started, it's a great way to get going.
And one of the things that Darcy mentioned is just like, and this is a ninja trick that I always apply for any new idea or any new store. I always order samples, because I need to see personally, I need to see the product, I need to feel it, because I'm a consumer as well. And even in Amazon, there was a time that when you order something, you will see something in the description and in the image, and said, you know what, cool, I want that. You pay for it, you Prime it, because I believe Prime is the greatest thing since sliced cheese. So I get the product. If it's not what I kind of just don't want it, because of some reason, if it's not the same texture or not how I imagined, then I will not pursue it. Then what I do is I ordered the sample from my own distributor for when I'm going to buy my products from. Yes, it will take maybe a couple of weeks to receive it, but I compare always the quality, because quality it's got to be paramount. It's got to be a good product that you like, because if you make yourself a little bit easier on vetting off anything that might go wrong with your product, it will be easier. So knowing, you know what, I like this product here, but maybe you find another manufacturer with the same product, but maybe it's slightly cheaper, or maybe it's slightly better, or maybe a bigger quality. So those are the things that you need to consider, and that's the learning process. But who can do drop shipping? Anyone. Like in the same thing with print on demand. Now, moving along, let's just go with your own product. And this
just a quick note that Dr. Phil Great said, POD and DS, meaning print on demand and drop shipping, share some similarities. Yeah, and even with print on demand, if you're doing T-shirts, just think the T-shirts that you have, ones that are, a white T-shirt from Hanes or Fruit of the Loom. They're similar, but they're different. Maybe one's a little bit, I'm just using name brands, but you figure you're not even dealing with name brands in some cases. Is it kind of see-through, or is it really thick? Is the stitching kind of like, is it really perfectly stitched that everything is perfect, or are there some loose threads of it? So definitely encouraging getting a sample first if you can. Rosemary asked, so John, prior to putting up the product on your Groovekart, do you order a sample first? And it's kind of your, I'll jump in to say it's kind of your risk level of whether you want to just go for it, take imperfect massive action, or if you're terrified of shipping something that a customer may be disappointed in, or outright pleased with. But I'll let John answer that.
Yeah. So on that question, that is the approach that I took, because there were many people doing it at the same time that I was doing it. And I still do with some little products, but it was how I felt that my customers, because remember, at the end of the day, you need to consider that your customer is what you offer them, not only the product, but the whole experience, the whole journey. Because I firmly believe, and this is why I kind of run the customer service department here at the company, is we actually believe in that our product is the greatest thing ever. And if you firmly believe that, and if you firmly believe that, okay, this is my product, even with a physical product, what I send to your house, even if it was from the manufacturer, I believe is the best that you're going to get. Sometimes things don't go right. But for me, at least, I need to make sure before we send the product that it is something that we will be proud to sell or proud to offer. So I definitely take the little risk. sometimes they do offer, some manufacturers in AliExpress and in some other platforms, they offer reduced pricing in samples. I mean, right now with Printful, you can order apparel at a discounted price because you ordered your samples. So I believe they stopped it for a couple of months due to the whole situation with the pandemic. But as soon as everything normalizes again, they might probably take a look and rearrange everything for that program, because you want to make sure that the quality, the texture, how it feels, if it makes you feel good, you go for it. You actually keep adding products to your line and offer it to your customers, because that's what it's all about. It's all your products. So you got to make sure that they're happy. So, Rosemary, thank you so much for that question. And since we're actually answering questions, Darcy, there was a couple of questions right above that I want to, give me just 1 second, because I believe he was a Facebook user. He said, can I get an email from Groove with the whatever Halo hats? Yes, you can. All that you do is set it up in your MX records. And if you have any questions about that, you can send us an email to support@groovedigital.com, and we will be able to actually help you out to set those for you. And I believe Rosemary also asked, can you connect or put a URL from Groovekart to your Groove Pages website? Yes, you have the ability to put extra links or internal pages or external pages, so you definitely can connect. And I can tell you something else. You can actually create a funnel with Groove Funnels in Groove Pages and add some code to a product that is tied up in Groovekart. So it could be something, it could work both ways. So you can have a landing page for a specific product that the checkout will be actually done in Groovekart, because we have that ability as well. So it works both ways. Now, Darcy, I believe we can continue with the questions that you were having here.
Before we go on to our own product, I would like to add an additional thing for people to look at, is finding out, obviously with COVID, things have been shut down in terms of live trade shows. I live in Vegas, one of the trade show capitals of the world, and there's a large show that happens here traditionally twice a year, ASD. It's a affordable shopping direct, and there's manufacturers from all around the world that come and exhibit. There's hundreds of thousands of people that come through, and being able to see trends from anything from luggage to fashion to hair care to giftware, you name it. And what's nice is being able to meet those suppliers face to face and build those relationships. Unfortunately, with COVID, a lot of the live trade shows are not happening, but they are still continuing to do them online. No matter what niche or industry you're in, look to see what conferences or trade shows there are where you can still get to meet the exhibitors and build those relationships, because having that relationship established, figuring out who you can communicate well with, because if you're having something made and you're trying to describe something, I think that's one of the reasons why I didn't quite go into the Teespring, is just like, how do I have my thoughts in my head, but how do I communicate for somebody else to design it if I don't want to spend that time myself? How do I get it from my head to somebody else how do I project manage that? So finding there may be a widget that you find on AliExpress, and there's 8 different companies that offer the exact same widget. Try communicating with them, ask them questions, and see who you communicate well with, because that communication is going to be very critical to your success.
And it's crucial, because you need to make sure that whoever is going to be your supplier is reliable, it has knowledge about their product, and is not just supplied by a company. I mean, that's the most important part. And now, as we jump, I'm going to take one last question before we go to the next slide. And this is actually a very good one. I firmly believe that seeking for answers is the way to actually get to what you want. And Vida asks, I don't have money to invest in a mentor. What should I do? Let me tell you what 99.9% of the people in the world are doing right now. Single word, YouTube. There is a lot of content and micro content in Instagram, in the Facebook stories, of all these mentors and gurus that will drop in a little clues of what to do. I mean, as I said, I follow a bunch of gurus, Gary Vaynerchuk being one of them, Simon Sinek being the other one, Malcolm Gladwell. There's a couple of people that, for example, Brendan Burchard is one of them, and Brendan Kane is one of the, I would not say mentors, but he's an author of a book called 1 Million Followers. And I've been reading a lot about the subject because I want to learn more how to bring more followers to my pages, to my products. So he's actually somebody worth to follow as well. And you can do it just via YouTube. Just find them, just do a search, and they offer certain things. You don't have to pay the $3,000 or $4,000 course yet. You do it once you have the capacity and once you need to do it. Because a lot of people, before they start, I need to learn this. Yeah, you can learn it. Take your time. Don't overspend, because that's when you make that decision of spend those $3,000 or $4,000 in a course, then if it's not what you expect, you get frustrated. And that is a common human error, that frustration grows when we invest something and we don't get anything in return. And that's part of the e-commerce process that you might need to understand, that sometimes you might have to invest just for the purpose of learning, like many of us did. I threw a lot of money in Facebook. I threw a lot of money in AdWords in the early days. One of those days, I actually made a mistake because I was learning the process in AdWords, and instead of putting $10 a day, I put $100 a day. And 5 days later, I see that my account was charged $700, $600, $500, or $600, and I was like, "Whoa! All my profit for the week is gone," because I didn't realize that. So those are sometimes the things that you need to learn. But you can become your own guru. I mean, read. There's a lot of ton of things that you can find online. So now let's move on with your own products. So, and I would like to hear from the audience, because I know that Darcy, you're excited to see this as well. Who here has that capability? Who has an artistic or a talent that you like to sell stuff? Let's say you do pottery. As a matter of fact, in the past challenge, one of our candidates to actually win the prize, one of our selection, was a gentleman that did pottery. And I believe he's your friend, right, Darcy?
David Hebert. He's in
David Hebert, that's
Massachusetts. He owns a cleaning company, but he owns multiple kilns. He physically makes pottery, the mugs and plates, and they're gorgeous. HebePotteryStudio.com, I think it is.
Yeah, Hebe Pottery, yes.
Yeah. So check it out. Check out last week's. Was it last week or 2 weeks ago?
It was actually last week, because we did the announcement and we presented. And he was actually the memorable mention.
Makes them. They're gorgeous.
And well, if you have your own product, it's not as hard, because that's something that you do. So when you have the capacity to produce something and offer it to the world, you can do it with Groovekart. You just take a couple of pictures, build a nice description, and you put it online, and then you will experience the whole thing. You don't have to do drop shipping or print on demand, but you have a product, you can do it. Now, there's a couple of things to consider, though, because then it's going to be an investment of funds by you buying the materials to actually create your masterpiece. You're going to need certain expenses that necessarily are not related to print on demand or drop shipping, because you only pay for what you're selling. In this case, you're paying for what you're building or what you're creating. So you're going to need raw products. You're going to need all your ingredients for the product that you're going to put together. So think about that as part of the process, because what do you need to offer it? A product that you manufacture. You need to have inventory, because once you open your floodgates, unless of course you offer custom products, then people are going to buy. And then the willingness to learn. And I see, if you've been following the past couple of slides, there's 3 key things: the willingness to learn, and that anybody can do it. But let's talk about the pros and the cons. The pros of your own product: very, very low entry costs as well, depending on the product that you're creating. Limited on material costs, because of course you're going to be looking for how to do it cheaper. Is knowledge based, because it's only you. You have the product, so you have the knowledge to create that product, and you have full control. And when I mean full control, you mean how many am I going to produce? How many am I going to sell? Who am I going to sell it to? when am I going to sell it to? Because some of the products are seasonal products that you want to probably do. So you have full control. Some of the cons, you're known to the market. So it's going to be a little bit hard for people to know your product, to actually recognize what you offer. Then it requires more time. And Darcy said something earlier, that time is money. And this is the part when I have to completely agree that trading your time for dollars is a way to make a living, but when you trade your time for more time is priceless. And time for more time, what do I mean by that? When I spend time building something for myself that I know that at the end is going to bring the rewards of me staying with my kids at home, taking vacations, going somewhere, to me, that's priceless. So that's one of the things to consider. You put up the time, you actually get more time in return once you have followed the process and you have completed what you have set your mind to, which in this case, we hopefully is bringing up and creating your own store with your own product. Now, Darcy, anything that you'd like to add to that?
I have a lot to add for this
Awesome.
one. If they're unique items, if you've created them, then you've got to consider how much does it weigh? What is the size of it? How are you shipping it? How are you shipping it safely? What are the products? Do you have photos that are clear, that show it from multiple angles and that represent it well, that even the photos you put, is the color accurate, that somebody's going to receive what they're expecting? And what are some of the others? The shipping, because even years ago there was, for building out a WooCommerce store, e-commerce store for an artist, they wanted to sell their stuff online, but it's like, okay, you have all these artwork, these paintings that are different sizes, and what is the weight? How are you shipping it? Separate thing, that ASD show that I mentioned, I used to sell florals that were pre-packaged. I'm like, oh, this is, they're light, they don't break in shipment. That's breakage is something that you want to consider. Is it something that would easily break in shipment or get damaged or scuffed during shipment? That it's not looking new when it gets there. How are we packaging it? So it's like, oh, these are light, they don't break and all that. Well, it was nice because I already had packages, but then I had the opportunity to buy a lot of loose florals. Then I was like, well, I didn't have the packaging for it. So that would be another expense, is the actual how you're shipping it and shipping it safely. But the product pictures, so my friend did with the Keep Vegas Open masks, he had those physically made. And we had the prototype photos, but we wanted the pictures of the actual finished product. And it's getting good quality images that sell, that reflect this, the shape, the size, the color, and how much does it weigh. And if you're shipping and somebody orders multiple, are you going to be, because there's different price breaks for if something's under a pound or if it's 2 pounds and so forth, and what are those different price breaks? So there's a lot of considerations that people might not think of when they're like, oh, I'm gonna go do this, and then it's like you build the store and you get to the shipping aspects. It's like, gosh.
Yeah. And you touch a lot of great points.
It's fun, but there's a lot to consider when you're building e-commerce. It's more than just building a website. It is a very detailed,
especially with your own product. So, and at the end of the day, who can create a product? Anyone. So now, guys, I'm always very respectful of the time. Right now it's 7:32, so we're gonna probably extend a little bit today because it's the first day. And then we can setting up the expectations and everything that we're going to be experiencing the next 8 weeks, not actually 7 weeks, because we're almost to wrap up the day today. So let me just go to the next slide, because we actually still have one more to go. And that's why I'm actually, if you're going to stick around, please do so, because that's the last product that we're going to be talking about, which is digital products. Digital products can be sold also on Groovekart, because we do have the ability to actually add a file that you can actually have your customers download every time they do a purchase. So if you have an ebook, if you're a poet, if you are a novelist that you have, maybe you're starting out, or you have a manuscript or maybe a manual or some sort, you can actually sell your digital products here with us as well. And again, because of the time, I would like to actually spend more time actually answering questions. We all know digital products. I mean, we all know what an ebook is, and they're very easily to deliver because you don't have to pay shipping. All that you do is an email address or maybe a Dropbox inbox, and you're all set to go. So the pros of digital products, you're in control totally because you design your product, you write your product, you produce your own content, and you have the best knowledge for the products and the capacity of the efforts. You know what your limits are. If you offer an ebook in a series that might become a course, then you know that probably you can escalate from there. You can scale your business to a point that if I run an ebook in how to maintain a Nissan GTR 2019, but then you know that it's going to come with the 2020, you can update that manual and just make a business out of it because you have to keep up with the new models. So that's the way to scale. And the cons, I believe, and this is actually a point for debate, and I will need your opinion here, Darcy. When it comes to digital products, you need to have a slightly large capital for marketing because a lot of digital products, you need to put them out there so people can see them. So I believe that was, and Donna kind of went the other way on her opinion when we did the first challenge, because there's a balance. So, and I believe to do it faster, you might need a little bit of capital. If you want to do it more organically, you can take all the time you need. But again, there's also large competition. So there's a couple of other things to consider, and is higher time requirements, because when you're writing a book to make it original, you want to just do it yourself, or maybe hire a ghostwriter. But that entails of paying somebody to do it, and we're trying to minimize certain things when we start. But they're out there. There's a lot of resources out there that you can actually start with digital products. But what's your take on it, Darcy? What's your take in digital products so far?
Digital is booming. People are consuming more than ever. They're home more than ever, and it's not going away. And actually, answering a question somebody else asked is, with COVID, is drop shipping going away? Now, any form of e-commerce, all forms of e-commerce are growing. It's not going away. So figure out which of these that you gravitate to, what you feel confident in. I do not recommend trying all of them at once, but I'm not going to fault you if you do, because I know that's just kind of how I did. I dove into everything, but you'll be more successful just choosing one. Somebody once said, Michael Phelps never won a gold medal swimming in someone else's lane. So
that's true. It's tempting. It's tempting, guys. And there's 3 things that you're going to learn with us in the next 8 weeks: is how to be laser focused, how to stick with one idea, and how to make decisions. Because I am going to remind you every day how to make decisions based on numbers, not just gut feelings. Because the first thing that most likely we have to do once we have our store set up is connect the analytics. And I'm going to touch it from day one because it's important. The data that you get will help you to make educated decisions when it comes to your advertising dollars. So let's think about that for now, but we have the next 7 weeks to actually continue. So for now, let me just go to the next slide, because I think I have 2 or 3 more, and we're gonna wrap up, and we're gonna probably do 5-10 minutes of more QA. As always, in every single challenge we do assignments. But for this week, the assignment is just make sure you come back next week. Follow through the process. If you follow through the process, we are going to see more cases like Christine case, like, of course, Donna, and like you're going to be Darcy. I think you got selected for a reason, because we believe that you share the same passion with our products. You also participated a lot in David. David said, he couldn't just, if David was a superstar, think about you, with all the respect, as the groupie. He said, wow, she's always there. She's amazing. You'll be like the roadie for David Lemon. And David, I know when you see the recording, you're going to have a chuckle. And he's all out of love. Because with David, he's a great asset to the company. He's one of the guys that you will ask him a question, he will do whatever it takes to get you the answer. So, and he will share great news for us next week of course, if he wants to share it. But he will have a great news for you guys. So
may I assign a homework? And it's based on John. Assignment is to watch the John Cornetta's talk on e-commerce, and John Garcia as well from the Groovathon. John, if you have the link handy from the Groovathon to drop it in for people to rewatch those segments, you can use the speed controller on the bottom to just kind of skip through and hopefully know what John Cornetta and John Garcia look like. But there's, to be able, if you're scanning through, to know where they are in that. To watch those. So it's about an hour, maybe 45 minutes to an hour per person to listen to John's recommendations. And that's, and for the people that are successful in e-commerce are those that treat it as a business. If you're expecting to make money from it, then you need to treat it as a business and not a hobby. You don't just create something and the money comes flowing in. It doesn't work like that. You need to treat it like a business. So thinking of a business plan and taking John Cornetta's advice of don't just have a product and create something around it and expect the customers, find out what the customers want. So I like I said, I have lots of ideas, and so I'm looking forward to John and Donna and David keeping me focused and starting in one aspect and not trying to put the whole kitchen sink in from day one.
Yeah.
So there you have assignment. Watch the Groovathon.
Right. So that will be a nice acceptable one. So I'm gonna try to just put the comments right after the video goes live for this recording. I mean, the video goes live. The video goes for the recording on Facebook. I'm gonna try to put the link there for the Groovathon. But guys, I think that let's just cover a couple of questions that were still lingering around. And I saw one here that is very interesting. Rowena says, what are other examples of digital products aside from ebooks? Now, ebooks is the way that most of the digital products are delivered. But think about also apps or maybe other types of digital products that you can offer. Apps is being one. Maybe extensions in Groove, in Chrome. If you have any other, let's say, abilities to program the extension for any browser. Again, it's got to be somehow related to software. But mostly, and in this case for Groovekart, mostly will be definitely ebooks. Ebooks is the way that is delivered because you can deliver from just a manual of something to a whole novel. I mean, the possibilities are endless when it comes to content, because at the end of the day, a digital product is just content and knowledge. And if you're a veterinarian and you want to write a book about fleas and ticks, you can do that and sell it via ebook or digitally. So, let's just take another question. Do we have any other question?
Real quick on other digital products is courses, as well as even webinars, giving access to whether it's a Zoom or GoToWebinar or later this year, Groove webinar. So
yeah. Thanks for the plug there, because yes, it is courses and other digital products. I mean,
videos,
videos, so that you can actually, complete by yourself and stepping out of the comfort zone, because creating videos is hard. Trust me, it's hard. Now, let's just take a look. Let's just have one last question here from Rosemary here. I have dropship product in mind, as before joining Groovekart, I was going to private label, but I want to dropship as I'm new to e-commerce. And this seems to like a good way to go. Then if I'm successful, I'll private label it. Or as a beginner, should I start small and do, say, t-shirt printing and maybe easy to start? Any thoughts? Rosemary, that's part of the process. And I think it will come to an individual basis of what do you think? what will make you happier? To start with designing products, because I saw that in a couple of your questions, you also have questions about printing and designing. Or if you have a product that you already have in mind that you have actually purchased, ordered a sample, tested, try it, and if something that you really feel passionate about selling it, I would recommend to go for what makes you happy. And I think if you are happy selling it or either manufacture it or whatever it is that you want to really feel happy about and send it to the world, it will be an easier process. Because once you have a product and you have it out there and then you have it distributed by somebody else that might not be the same quality that you want, it's going to create stress. So it comes to bring the two areas of the balance. Like, is it better if I do print on demand first, or is it better if I go with my product? It will come down to my own opinion, to an individual level. What do you think about that, Darcy?
Yeah, I totally support what you just said. I couldn't say better.
All right, guys. I think we're gonna wrap it up right now. It's 7:45.
One thing real quick, I did see a Facebook user said, John, when in Groovekart Academy, can I find a step-by-step training of the new features and setup of the new GK interface? And for a Facebook user, that's what we will be building.
Yes, we are working really diligently on that. We're gonna have new videos soon. Right now, we're kind of just doing a lot of stuff for the launch, and working for what we need to do with Groove funnels and Groove pages and the other products. But I am actually committed to get you the material as soon as possible. So you're going to have a lot of material. We're gonna just work on videos, and you're gonna have a more let's just call heavy area when it comes to videos for the new Groovekart and the new interface. And I'm going to let you in a little secret. We're actually kind of waiting because there's new features coming. And it will be kind of futile to do a video on one specific area when we're going to have it improved. For example, really soon, we're going to release the inventory control, which allows you to control your inventory if you actually do manual products. Multi-languages, we're going to have Groovekart finally in multi-languages, and as we did 2 weeks ago, it was actually the pagination system. So if you have more than 20 products, now you're not going to see only one page, but you're going to be able to see and select page 1 or page 2 or page 3. So those are the little things that make the product grow and more functional. But guys, I want to thank you all for another pleasant evening. It was great to share with you, especially with you, Darcy. You've been amazing, and I hope that.
In follow-up of that question, though, I do want to encourage everybody, please bookmark, subscribe to and bookmark the youtube.com/Groove Digital. That's the official YouTube page for Groove Digital. And if you look, you usually can find past live streams. Those will show you the most recent. And yes, it might be David Lemon's #1 groupie. He does a lot of more than just the Groove pages. He does do a lot of information about Groovekart. He loves sharing what's new and exciting on both Groove pages and Groovekart, and so I encourage you to attend his lives. But get in there and play around. It may seem frustrating to some that there's not a step-by-step tutorial current in the academy, but your best way of learning, most successful multimillionaires, they've gone through their own experience. They've practiced themselves. And I used an analogy that an Easter egg hunt is, when you're going and finding all the eggs, that's a lot more fun than somebody just having a basket and putting it on the table in front of you. So get in there and practice. And also, I know that Groove support really, you may come across like a bug, like, hey, I'm not sure how this works or something. And so again, subscribe to the Groove Digital channel on YouTube. There's tons of information in there, in the last recent weeks, and if you search. But the best way of learning is by doing. So get in there. Figure out what, have your questions ready, and we're happy to answer them live next week.
Awesome. Yes. Okay, guys, again, it's been a pleasure. And now we're going to wrap it up. So thank you so much for tonight. And we'll see you next week at the same time, same channel. And have a great rest of the day. Have a great weekend. And don't forget, stay strong, do your cart, do your assignments, and you're going to have fun the next 7 weeks. Have a great one, everybody, and we're off. Bye-bye.
Thank you.